What is up, guys? Of course, this week, Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation, for the first time ever, had its first OP. Yes, generally they do have an OP, it's a song, but typically with Mushoku Tensei, they always kind of have some sort of vistas, something to look at that's in the area that Rudius is at. But again, now we finally have what seems like will be a repeating OP with lots of symbolisms and visuals and spectacle that people just love to eat up. And I've had quite a few requests through DMs and stuff like that, and some discussions on the Discord itself of people wondering my opinion on it. Now, I said this week during Mushoku Sundays, my thoughts on the actual OP. I thought it was actually beautiful and everything, lots of cool visuals and everything, but yes, there's a lot in here that we can deep dive into, and so I thought I would make a whole video on this because it seems like people want that. So let's dive into this. Of course, I'm going to say here, there's going to be spoilers here. There's going to be some slight spoilers here, so if you're an anime only, if you're looking at the OP, you're probably getting hints at what it's kind of conveying. If you know anything about certain symbolisms and stuff, you probably know what they're conveying here. And based on what Rudius' travel is currently, this seems like the conclusion. So just keep that in mind. I'm not going to sit here and like spell out some major spoilers or anything, but I just want to give people a warning here beforehand. If you just want to keep completely fresh, don't watch the OP and, don't continue watching this. But yeah, let's deep dive into this. Starting off with the first shot, we have obviously what seems like Sylphie, who's laying on a bed in the background, and we have a forefront shot that's actually in focus, which is a birdcage. Now, bird cages, you can go in a million different directions. We obviously have the idea of somebody being cooped up, which you can probably apply to the idea that Sylphie, who was in the displacement incident, ended up kind of trapped in a situation, trapped somewhere, what you can probably convey as being a birdcage. She wasn't able to leave there. She wasn't able to leave Ariel's side. This was her protection, was being at Ariel's side. She was essentially cooped up. She was locked up, in a sense, with the idea that she wants to help what eventually becomes her friend. Moving on from there, this is the shot that I think is like, man, there's so much to dive in here, it's not funny. Obviously, throughout the entire OP, what they're sort of portraying here is that there's three different birds. There's the Edis bird, there is the Sylphie bird, eventually the Fitz bird, and then the Roxy bird. Now, I don't know why in this particular shot, maybe it's just my eyes, it looks like a little more purple than actually blue, but it's obviously that we're going with the starter Pokemon here. We have the three, Edis, Sylphie, and Roxy. Now, I don't know why all three of them are sitting next to a birdcage. That would sort of imply that all three of them have been set free somehow. Maybe it's through them meeting Rudius. They have changed their lives. Obviously, Roxy, she wanted to get better because Rudius sort of showed her that she's not as good as she thought she was. He changed her outlook on life itself and what she thought of her own skills. Obviously, Edis, she was once a noble girl and full of herself. Meeting Rudius and going through this travel, she changed so much. She got to a point where she felt like she wasn't strong enough to be at his side, so she decides to go out and get stronger. And then, of course, Sylphie, she was bullied and treated terribly until she met Rudius, who saved her and showed her things that she would enjoy in life. Each one of them has sort of been stuck in a cage and then set free. Now, there's something else in the shot that I thought was extremely fascinating. A goblet. A goblet that, if you really look into it and look up close, you'll know it's familiar. It's a very familiar shot of this goblet sitting on the ground with spilled wine. If you go back to when Rudius slept with Edis, yes, that's the same exact goblet. So it's kind of interesting to have this shot where you have a bed, you have Sylphie laying on it, and yet you have this shot of this goblet that sort of is the representation of Rudius' first time. This moment that he bedded Edis. It's sort of an interesting choice to have this here. It is sort of a symbolism in the idea that yes, this is a purity that was once lost, which is Edis, but also a symbolism of this mistake in Rudius' mind. To put a perspective here, yes, before Season 2, with the anime, you had the situation where Rudius bedded Edis, and it became a mistake in his mind. He thought that he ruined that relationship because Edis left the most vaguest letter behind that technically was her saying, I'm not good enough for you, we're not well balanced, and essentially that I'm going to go get stronger. He's seen it as, I screwed this up. I did something wrong in bed, and thus she left me. She no longer wants me. And that becomes a massive mistake. And that could be a symbolism of that, yes, loss of virginity, but also the idea of this one mistake. Having it right next to the bed is the question mark. That might be that lingering aspect, that lingering symbolism of something that I did here that might mess up here. The next shot, I don't know. I honestly don't know. And it seems very odd to have this right here. It is a cave with some sort of magic circle on the ground. Now, my immediate jump to conclusion was this is the cave in which, yes, slight spoilers, eventually two individuals will be inside of, and something doesn't happen that they were hoping happens. But I don't think that's going to be the case because, again, there's no implication of a circle being on the ground. I don't think there's really any case throughout the series that has this, unless they're talking about a certain labyrinth. That could be possibly it. But again, I don't know why it's right here. Then we have a brief showing of Rudeus' hand obviously going across the bed where Sylphie is laying, and then it jumps to a shot with a bunch of books and whatnot on the shelves, which I'm assuming is in Rudeus' dormitory. But on the corner, I guess the only real symbolisms you can have here is the idea that there is a plant sitting on the desk, which is not blossomed yet. And these white lilies are typically a symbolism of purity and rebirth and whatnot. I would assume that for most of this OP, it's sort of symbolizing purity because, again, Sylphie. Because yes, as we get in the next shot, we see what looks like somebody with longer hair sitting out in a field, which, again, slight spoilers here, is probably Sylphie. She has the white hair, it looks like the same dress that she has at the beginning segments when she's in the bed, and her hair has been grown out. Additionally, again, in a field full of these white lilies. Again, purity. Now here's where it kind of shifts interesting because you have this moment where the two hands are coming together. Rudeus and Sylphie's hands are coming together. But just before they lock fingers, you see the shot jump back to that field with white lilies where Sylphie once was, and a bird takes off, which is probably, again, a symbolism of her leaving. Now, what I think this is sort of portraying is this idea of the fear of Rudeus having that she's going to leave him, which is sort of confirmed as we jump back to the hands coming together and they shatter in red, which, yes, you can probably assume is the symbolism of Eris, this redness, this fear. And that cuts to him pretty much waking up. He was in some sort of dream. Now, the next shot shows Rudeus. It looks like he's a little upset. Obviously, again, having this dream where he's reconnecting with something, but then it shatters because of this fear of somebody leaving him behind. Going into the second season, what they're really hitting heavy on is that, yes, that's the whole aspect of the ED, but the ED is really a cause by this fear of breaking things. Because I had this relationship with Eris, I'm afraid I'm going to break it again. So it's almost this desire to just kind of be distant from everything. He says that after everything happened with Sarah, I'll just be alone. I did it in my previous life, I can do it in this life. But there's something that's still kind of keeping him going. Everything following Eris leaving him, all the way up until now, there's one thing that's been keeping him going. That's Roxy. Every time he's uneasy, he grabs for his holy relic. The holy relic has become the thing that he prays to and that gives him comfort. Remember when Counter Arrow and all them were about to be taken out by the Luster Grizzly, what did he think of? It's not over yet. What am I thinking that I don't have anything to live for? What am I thinking? Roxy, guide me. And what does Roxy do? The bluebird flies by him, and that is Roxy bringing him to the university. Now, yes, the original reason why he came to the university is because, yes, the man god told him this is where you're going to get fixed, but this is something that has always been kind of keeping him comfortable that entire time and eventually leads him there because that was the original thing that Roxy suggested him before everything happened with the displacement incident. Then we cut over, we see Step Leader, Soldat, them fighting the Frost Drakes. Remember, the Frost Drakes were in those ruins that ended up bringing him and Counter Arrow together. They were actually spilling out of the cave, and that's why they sent, Step Leader to go take them out, and eventually they end up, connecting to the other ruins. Then we have a bunch of shots where Rudeus is walking through areas, and we see a lot of portraits. I didn't really see anything in here besides just kind of stuff that we've seen before, characters, occurrences, and whatnot. We jump to Zenoba, Best Boy Zenoba. We see a spoiler of somebody in the midst of Linnea and Presenta in a classroom. I cannot wait, by the way. I love him. Then we cut to Julie, who's in a dark place, and a door's opening to her, which, yes, would symbolize this idea of somebody opening up some sort of escape for her. Then we cut to the masked individual who's inside of this room. I don't know exactly why this magic circle's on the wall. I don't think ever in the novel series have they ever portrayed this idea of them putting circles on the wall, but it looks cool. It looks cool, it's glowing, and she's trying to reach out for something that she's trying to get to. And for those that know, no. We then cut to Rudeus going up some stairs, kind of this flight up into something else. And of course we see, once again, the Eris bird, that evil Eris bird, flies away. I didn't really capture anything in the pictures in the background. Again, these are a bunch of scenes of his memories. Typically with these windows to something, it's typically memories. So every window is a memory, every portrait's a memory. Seeing like the embracing of Paul, we see Lilia, we see Zenith at some point, all these memories of his past. We then cut to Elise, who's standing there with a pennant in her hand, which again, for those that know what that's sort of portraying, this idea of this some sort of connection, which was sort of established the moment that Elise seen Rudeus had this pendant and said, oh, you have that. And it sort of is implying this aspect because of how she embraces it. There seems to be some sort of regret or something there. We then cut to Cliff, who looks like he's in some sort of back area. It looks like he's all scuffed up, so obviously being bullied. Then we cut to Rudius, where he's pulling Sarah from the treant. What that whole sequence of Sarah was this aspect of finally accomplishing something. He felt like he was kind of stuck, and when he did save Sarah, that was like a success for him. He came out there to look for Sarah because he was looking for success. He was looking to follow through with something, just like Soldat was telling him, you never follow through with anything. We then see Rudius inside of a classroom. He looks like he's kind of alone, isolated. You have a lot of images of his past. Specifically in this particular shot, you see a lot of around Orsted himself, when Orsted killed him and everything. But then eventually, the green bird flies by him. This remembrance of somebody else in his past that he recalls every now and then, Sylphie. But there's still that aspect that he doesn't really know where Sylphie is. And that's when we see that the bird, which is symbolizing Sylphie, flies past both Luke and Ariel before turning into a white bird, which would be the implying of her turning into Fitz, or at least her hair changing color. But then she flies into this kind of bright area behind these curtains. And what I think that's probably symbolizing here is this idea that beyond these curtains is the big reveal. Even for anime onlys, we're already getting a hint here that there is a secret here. It's a secret that Fitz is Sylphie, but she's not telling Rudius. And yet there is a comfort that he's already having with Fitz, but there would be eventually, hopefully, that point in which she would reveal, I am actually Sylphie. And that's really him. Coming to that curtain, he has the feather that is Sylphie, then eventually looking into the curtain itself and seeing the actual truth. Which, yes, cutting to with him in the back of the bed, he is now happy. He's found some sort of comfort in knowing that Sylphie is there. That he's finally found somebody that is pure, that is able to kind of bring him some sort of warmth, because, again, he's been struggling with this idea of being abandoned by Edis. And the last shot with him sitting on the carriage, I have no idea. It's like, I don't know why he's back outside. Maybe this is before he arrives, but why would he be happy before he even arrives? Once again, you do have the white lilies kind of laying around him, which again is symbolizing that purity. But he's happy, so there you go. And that's it. That was not as complicated as I thought it was, even though I talked longer than I thought I would, but really cool. Like I said, I do really like the idea of kind of portraying each one of these girls as a different bird, each one of them having some sort of significance in his life. Again, the unfortunate aspect of Edis and her leaving him, filling him full of that fear of ever connecting with anybody again, showing the bluebird, Roxy, kind of showing him comfort and guiding him to the university, and eventually having that aspect of, yes, the green/white bird, bringing him some sort of joy again. Really cool. I was kind of hoping that there would be something more in the images in the background, but it seems like, again, they're just a bunch of memories. These are the things that have developed and made Rudius grow over time. These are the things that are significant to him because they're significant moments in their life. But yeah, cool stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed my run through of the OP for second season of Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation. Hopefully they do one for the second core, and we can be right back here again and deep dive into that stuff. But hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, hit that like button down below, comment, let me know it's the whole trailer itself. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure that subscribe button's to get all my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. I also do Mushoku Sundays, where I fully analyze the episode of the anime itself and give people perspective of what was skipped in the novel series to adaptation. Additionally, on Monday, I do Mushoku Mondays, where I do an analysis of the book series itself. I'm currently on volume 13, which is after the second season. If you want to support this content more, I have a Patreon link, tips link, super thanks, membership button down below. Greatly appreciate what it does, and y'all take care.